Welcome to our presentation on integrated approaches, presented to you by Kylie Baker, Liz McMillan, and myself, Lisa Bennett. Thank you for joining our presentation on integrated approaches to teaching and learning. My team are presenting three approaches today: the connected, integrated, and webbed models. We aim to demonstrate to you all how these approaches fit into today's classroom, their benefits, limitations, and supporting theorists behind these approaches. I'm Lisa, and I'm going to present to you first the connected approach. The connected approach can be considered as viewing the curriculum through an opera glass, meaning this approach to integrated learning keeps subject areas separate and aims to make precise connections within a subject area by connecting a skill, concept, or topic to the next. Utilising an integrated approach allows for flexibility to support a holistic way of learning, and by focusing on making clear and specific links within a subject area, which in turn supports children to develop rich, meaningful, real-world connections to their learning, ultimately gaining a stronger understanding of a subject area. The connected approach is an interdisciplinary approach, meaning it supports teaching a single subject area on its own and to make connections between multiple focus areas from within that subject. By utilising this approach, we as teachers can ensure specific learning objectives are met, and we can flow lessons easily to ensure all curriculum demands are also met. Through the implementation of this approach, a positive and collaborative learning environment is developed, and children are then improving their higher thinking skills, which are required for a 21st century classroom and to create successful learners for the future. Designing a curriculum in this way harnesses children's individual ideas, supports them to be co-constructors, and ensures their learning is personally meaningful. This approach will produce the best results in numeracy and science when a clear learning objective has been set and children will understand what they are trying to achieve. The connected approach can be effective across all school year levels, however, is most beneficial to the lower years. As children begin their educational journey, they are only just learning how different information can be linked together and then to create a link to the real world. By focusing on separate subject areas and making connections within that subject enables young children to bring together small chunks of learning and apply and transfer this knowledge to create a deeper level of understanding. The connected approach is a more traditional teaching method as it focuses solely on one subject area at a time. In an already crowded curriculum, it could be viewed as an unpreferred teaching method, as teachers of today often overlap numerous subject areas to ensure demanding curriculum needs are met. With this approach, the timetable for the day is clearly broken up into separate subject areas, much like many primary schools today. However, the limitation occurs as only explicit links are made between a prior and current learning intention of the same subject area. This can hinder individual creativity and child-led learning. It is important to consider with this approach that individual learning styles are not always met. It is best utilised when we are focusing on a particular learning objective and can utilise other aspects from within that subject to strengthen understanding and achieve our learning goals. In the past, the connected approach could be seen used at the end of a unit of work, where a selection of individual skills might have been brought together at the completion of the unit. Hence, the big picture of learning is only exposed after all the pieces have been covered. In this approach, assessment would have been made on each separate component, with each learned in isolation to the others. In modern-day classrooms, the connected approach is now used during a unit of work, as I said earlier, particularly maths and science. It allows for children to make continual connection from one day's learning to the next, and as the teacher explicitly makes the links between learning, they are supporting the children's understanding by not assuming these links have been made. For example, during science lessons, connecting the life cycle of a butterfly with a plant that flowers and explaining to the children how these both go through a system of change which relies on their environment, hence linking their learning within the science lessons. The connected approach is supported by Jean Piaget's theory and supports the teacher to develop a better understanding of their students' thinking, resulting in an alignment being made with teaching strategies and a student's cognitive ability. Piaget doesn't consider cultural or social interactions. He instead believes that learning occurs when basic, interconnected psychological systems process information, make connections, and identify rules and find patterns. Piaget's third stage of cognitive development, the concrete operational stage, which is developed and generally achieved over the primary years, explains that children of primary age can think logically but cannot make connection without obvious explanation given to them. That is where this approach comes into play.
Hi, my name is Liz, and as Lisa mentioned, I will be discussing the webbed approach to curriculum integration. The webbed approach can be used for valuable learning by successfully integrating curriculum across several disciplines. As Fogarty describes, the webbed approach involves a theme to integrate subject matter. The theme is used to cover appropriate ideas, concepts, and topics across several disciplines. The theme selected is usually chosen by teaching staff across departments, and it is critical to explore that the theme chosen has breadth and depth and can be woven through different learning areas. Brainstorming themes with students is also a great way to involve students in their own learning and ensure themes are of interest to students. Some of the many benefits to the webbed model of integration include the way it can make teaching and learning more cohesive. As learning experiences are planned in purposeful ways across departments, students are given the opportunity to challenge their understanding about a topic and gain an understanding of real-world issues. For example, the theme chosen across departments might be culture, with the question of who are we? Here is an example of how the art teacher, languages teacher, music teacher, and classroom teacher could plan their lessons based on the theme of culture. In art, students look at artworks from a variety of cultures and explore how art in Australia compares. According to the Australian curriculum, in languages such as Chinese, students identify how terms are used to identify aspects of culture that are different to their own and compare cultural practices of celebration from around the world. The music teacher could provide opportunities for students to learn about how music is used to sustain and communicate cultural knowledge, including music of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, and create their own music that represents their culture. Finally, the classroom teacher would be able to plan learning experiences in several learning areas, such as English, where students would read stories about Australian culture and write about how their own culture is reflected in society today. This shows how the webbed approach benefits students' learning, as there is a clear link between subject areas and students are able to deepen their understanding through all learning areas. As you've just heard, there are several benefits to the webbed approach to curriculum integration. However, there are also some limitations that need to be considered. Teachers need to be careful not to force links to the curriculum just so that they cover all areas of the curriculum. All learning experiences need to be genuine, purposeful, and carefully planned. Themed units can also be shallow and fail to develop important concepts and understandings. In addition to this, teaching and learning through a webbed approach takes a lot of planning between teachers across departments. As teachers already have such a heavy workload, finding the time to plan and collaborate can be very difficult and sometimes can become a burden for teachers who are not given compatible working hours to cooperate with each other. In today's classrooms and schools, the webbed approach to learning is commonly used. As you have heard from Lisa, the connected approach was used as the most common approach to teaching the curriculum in the past. However, although in today's classrooms it is more common and widely accepted that an approach between subject areas is more beneficial for teaching and learning, such as the webbed approach, It is normal for the teacher to switch to a connected model at certain times if a single skill or concept is to be taught. These approaches can successfully be used alongside each other. Additionally, due to the nature of today's society and living in a globalised world, teaching and learning through an approach between subject areas, specifically the webbed approach, contributes to students becoming successful in life and the workplace. In the 21st century, students need to be able to use skills from multiple areas at once and understand how links between different learning areas can be used to gain a deep understanding about the world they live in. Learning through the webbed approach allows students to make connections with their learning and see the bigger picture. The theory of multiple intelligences can be used for thematic learning as students are able to make real-world connections and use their individual cognitive abilities to learn about a topic. Gardner's multiple intelligences theory encourages students to make connections and comparisons from different learning areas, which deepens their learning. Based on this theory, all students' learning styles are catered for when learning about a topic, as students can learn through a range of intelligences such as linguistic, musical, mathematical, and interpersonal. I hope this has provided you with a good understanding on what the webbed approach is and how and why it should be used in today's classrooms. Now I would like to pass you over to Kylie, who is going to discuss the integrated approach to teaching and learning.
My name is Kylie and I'll be introducing you to the integrated curriculum model. The integrated curriculum model is an interdisciplinary or between subject area approach. Fogarty states that the integrated curriculum model incorporates topics that are arranged around overlapping concepts and emergent patterns. The disciplines are blended by finding their overlapping skills, concepts and views. The concepts are not confined to a single discipline or KLA. They are expansive in nature. The integrated curriculum model permits investigation, exploration and growth at differing levels of difficulty. A curriculum can be designed where units are interconnected and incorporate a range of economic, cultural and social contexts. 3 dimensions of the integrated curriculum model are overarching concepts or issues, which encompass reading, reflection and discussion, advanced content that encourages delving deeper into a subject, and the process and product dimension, incorporating exploration, research and project-based learning. This model places a high importance on advanced content knowledge, higher order thinking skills, puts focus on major issues that cross several disciplines, and aligns well with Bloom's taxonomy, which is a hierarchical ordering of cognitive skills that can, among countless other uses, help teachers teach and students learn. The key to planning an integrated, child-centered curriculum is balance. Balance between large group, small group, and individual activities, a balance between teacher-directed and child-initiated experiences, and a balance of curriculum and content areas. The theoretical support for the integrated curriculum model comes from 2 sources, one being Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, where students are exposed to materials slightly above their knowledge level, which provides challenge within the learning experience. Vygotsky's views on constructivism also align with this model, as students must be in charge of their own learning and construction of knowledge. Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences is reflected in this model, as teachers are able to cater for individual learning styles through research tasks, hands-on activities, and assessment styles. Integrated studies could be compared to a spectrum of teaching approaches. At the left end of the spectrum, we have exploration within the single disciplines, which are the fragmented, connected and nested approaches. These approaches could be classed as traditional and are used to pass on the inherited knowledge of society using memorization and rote learning, with the teacher filling the role of expert. These approaches are aligned with a time where students knew what jobs they were being prepared for, such as working in factories where employers valued workers who would do what they were told in an efficient manner with little independent thought. Sitting in a classroom memorising facts in single discipline lessons prepared students for this type of work. Teaching practices has gradually started to move through the spectrum from interdisciplinary approaches to multidisciplinary approaches, such as sequenced and shared, which incorporate themes and units that coincide across separate subjects before evolving into interdisciplinary approaches such as the webbed, threaded and integrated approach, which is built on the simpler shared model that uses overlapping concepts from 2 disciplines as the organising elements. As we have moved into the 21st century and become part of the global community, we have realised the importance of students building competencies in 21st century learning, which includes skills such as critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity, problem solving and teamwork. We are recognising that the future is uncertain and students need to be prepared for jobs that haven't been created yet, for technologies that haven't been invented yet, and to solve problems that have not yet been anticipated. Using the integrated curriculum model is a way of fostering these skills and preparing students for the real world, which is not bound by singular disciplines, but by big ideas and concepts. The integrated curriculum approach has many benefits, such as promoting the development of critical thinking skills, developing students' ability to synthesize learning from a variety of sources, and developing a critical understanding of the content and concepts. Students are introduced to the bonds and interconnectedness among multiple disciplines. By integrating these subjects, students are prepared for real-world experiences, as that is how students will encounter problems in the global community. The integrated curriculum helps students learn to apply skills to build knowledge, as well as valuing the general capabilities in the Australian curriculum. It also allows teachers to cater for individual learning styles, which supports Gardner's multiple intelligences theory, that students learn best when using their individual learning style. But there are some limitations associated with the integrated curriculum approach, such as it can be difficult to implement due to the logistics of interdepartmental teams being able to have planning blocks and teaching time at the same time. Restructuring of schedules can be difficult and problematic and requires whole school support and educators passionate about bringing the integrated approach into their school. Also, teachers may lack the time to plan effective units and may also be reluctant to put time and effort into changing what they are already doing in the classroom to apply an approach they're not familiar with and that doesn't guarantee outstanding results. Teachers may also find it difficult to strike a balance among the competing needs and interests of their students. Lisa, Liz and myself, I would like to thank you all for listening to our presentation about some of the different approaches to integrating curriculum into your classroom. We believe that all approaches to integration have a place in the classroom. It is up to you what suits your students' needs, and you are the person who knows their learning best. There is no rule that says you must use one approach instead of another, or pick one approach and not be able to change your mind. Experiment. Do some reading. Try something new. You will not regret challenging yourself to explore integration in the classroom. Thank you for listening to our presentation on the different options for integrated approaches in the classroom.